Yo, what is up, guys? Coming back for another live stream from the buyer's perspective. I've been doing this pretty much every day of May. If you have not been following along, I pretty much said I wanted to do a live stream every day for 30 minutes in May, mostly on LinkedIn, just to connect with the CPG community more, be able to engage, and honestly find a little bit of variety and like ways that I can add value through my content. I've primarily just been post maybe videos of me talking and things like that, but looking for ways to change it up a little bit. And throughout this month, I've created kind of these mini series that I've really put out in this idea of thinking like, okay, what's valuable? What do people like? What's entertaining? How can we take this and make something of it? So I kind of have these, I'll give you the breakdown really quick. I've got these four main series that I've been doing throughout the week. And the first one is the newsletter review. So if you're not familiar with the fact that I have a newsletter, I put it out every week on Mondays, and it's from the buyer's perspective. It really just breaks down different topics within CPG, how it relates to you as a sales rep and the buyer, and what's my take on it, so that the sales reps can see this topic from the other side of the desk. The next one that we're doing is, which today is the product review. Product review is me going through a live product review. I'm taking a look at a single product, maybe multiple, kind of putting them head to head. And I don't want it to just be a taste test. It's not about, just me trying the product and telling you what I think of it for the taste, but this is about getting the behind the scenes look. How do buyers really approach an item? Like, what are the first things that they think about when they are looking at new items, whether that is on the show floor at a booth or in their office with a category review or a random sample that comes into the office. There's a way that buyers look at these products, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. As sales reps, you should be able to glean a lot of good information on how you can pitch your product and what you might be able to make with packaging tweaks or the marketing, the framing, how you really look at what you are offering your product to the buyer. Then I also do a battle of the sets. So that's going to show up tomorrow. I pick one category, two retailers, and we put them head to head, but not in the way that you think. So we're not necessarily saying, did this retailer win over this retailer? It's really about, did the retailer show up and in the right way for their customer? So we're going to break down each category the one category at each retailer and go into it from a buyer's perspective. What am I looking at? We have lots of things on our mind and how these schematics come to life. And again, just being able to share that with the sales reps so that you can see the other side. I really believe that when you start thinking about things from the buyer's perspective as a sales rep, you're going to be able to connect easier with your buyer. You're going to be able to understand what they're going through, and just making that relationship a little bit stronger because you have a better understanding of what they're actually going through and having empathy for what they do every day. And then on Thursday, we're doing the buyer hotline, just Q&A, open conversation. Come in with your questions, or if you have some issues that you're trying to work through, I'm here to help you through that. You can hop in, post your questions, and get them answered right there on the spot. But today we are focused on the product review. I'm really excited about this one because I've actually tried this product before, but I wanted to take the time to give it a review. And what it is 1st Phorm Power Pro Bar. So the reason I'm excited about this one, 1st Phorm, if you don't know, I'll give you a little bit of history here. 1st Phorm was created by Andy Frisella. He was one of the co-founders of it and owners. I don't think he's running anything right now. It's his brother who runs the operations, but he's on the board. But Andy Frisella is the one who created the 75 Hard and the Live Hard Challenge, which if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been doing, over the last couple of years, I've done those challenges. I'm actually in the middle of phase 1 right now of the Live Hard program. If you want to know more about that, I won't lay it out all here, but go look it up. Go look up phase 1 Live Hard, and you'll see the things that are required of doing that challenge every day for 30 days. But so that's why I'm excited about this. I just started buying some more 1st Phorm products online. I can't find a lot of these products in store, so I'm doing a lot of it online right now. They've been primarily a direct consumer company, and they're just now starting to get the wheels turning and building up their sales team, from what I've heard, in trying to get these products, or at least grocery products, into retailers. So, this one I did buy a full case online. It wasn't something that I could go to a store and just pick up. And yeah, so excited to try it. Let me give you the breakdown really quick again, just kind of lay the foundation and what the framework of the call is, or what we're going to do here. I will taste the product, and I'll give you the, how I feel with the taste, the texture, all that stuff. But before we get into the actual product tasting, I want to give you the framework of how buyers approach new items and how they approach the item that's in front of them. So we're going to break it down into sections, what we look at, and what we'll do is just go section by section, the way I would look at any item that came in front of me. And then at the end, I'll do the product tasting. And along the way, if you have any questions or thoughts or any kind of comments at all, just throw them into the chat so I can see them, and I'll address those as I'm going along. All right. So as a buyer, the first thing that I would look at when looking at a product, again, whether that is at a booth, at a trade show, or in the office, the first thing that I'm going to be looking at is, you guessed it, packaging. So packaging, just like a consumer, is so important because we have to look at it from that angle. Is a customer going to know what this product is, what it does, and understand why they would want to pick it up in the first place? Not even buy it, but just pick it up to look at it. And a lot of that has to do with packaging. When you're walking down an aisle, can you see what that item is from 3 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet away, and quickly identify if that's something for you? And, this is what we break into. And, I've never managed the protein bar or nutrition bar section, but I know that it's a little bit different because you're not just looking at this, you're looking at a tray. Most of the time, the shelves are flat. You have a tray, maybe 2 trays stacked on top of each other. And so you really have to look at the tray itself, not just the product. Two steps in this one. You want to make sure first that the tray, again, is clear, like easy to read, easy to understand what it is, what it does for you, so that it can invite the customer into picking it up and looking at the actual product itself. Now, one key thing here too is, especially with nutrition bars, flavor is a huge play into this. And this goes with a lot of categories, especially instant consumables. So think chips, crackers, cookies, drinks, all that stuff. Flavor is a huge driver. So yeah, it's good to know what the bar is, what brand it is, and how much protein, but people identify with the flavor. They know that feeling that you're getting when you go to take a bite. So I don't have the tray in front of me. I just don't have it in front of me. But when looking at it, actually, I think, I don't have it open. I was going to say I could share the screen of what it looks like, but I would say, from what I remember, it was a dark brown background with white lettering, so inverse of the actual bar itself. And it really was prominent on Power Pro whole food protein bar. And then 15 grams, like, the big call outs there, 15 grams of protein. And it had chocolate brownie in the picture and all that. So that's the kicker. Again, you have to look at it and say, will the person even go to pick it up? If you're a chocolate brownie fan and you're looking at this, on a bar, it looks pretty good. Like, I'm gonna go pick it up probably. And man, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I said I'm gonna pick it up probably. There's another layer here for nutrition bars, and that's the function. What is it doing for you? So for me, if like I'm hitting a very high protein goal right now. I'm like 225. So I need a lot of protein. When I see 15 grams, for me, I might not pick it up actually, because I'm thinking to myself, well, chocolate brownie looks good. It's a whole food protein bar, calls out like good ingredients. In my mind, that's what I'm kind of connecting it with. But 15 grams might not be enough. So unless I'm familiar with this brand or tried it before, I might not pick it up if that's what I'm looking for, is like a higher protein, 20 to 22 grams or 25 grams or whatever it may be. But assuming 15 grams hits your mark, you pick it up, start looking at the packaging and everything. They do a great job here, kind of identifying it. But what I would say is, as you look a little bit closer, so we've got, whole food protein bar, but when you look on the back and you start looking at the macros and the ingredients and everything, I'll just give you a quick glimpse here. We're at 290 calories, so really high for a bar. And a lot of that comes from fat. It's 19 grams of fat and 22 grams of carbs and 15 grams of protein. So this is something where I would probably push back a little bit, saying that it's a protein bar. I would probably call it like a whole food energy bar or something else, because like I talked about the other day with the jerky, when you are looking for high protein items, there's this kind of rule, this general rule that you follow, where it's like 10% of the calories should be the grams of protein. So if you think about 290 calories, if you were looking for a high protein bar, you would want something with 29 grams of protein. So that ratio of 10 to 1 is kind of what people are looking for when they're looking for high protein. So it kind of, to me, feels a little off in that regard as far as how they identify it. But other than that, when you're looking at it, I mean, it's clear that they've been doing this for a while. They've got good packaging, like they've got the call out, they've got the flavor prominently. The Power Pro is kind of like their signature name for this bar or this segment that they run. First Form is not too big. I think that's good. It's not like overpowering, and it kind of fits in with the visual here, like having it kind of angled there like that with their logo. And then, on the back, all the like mandatory stuff. They do a really good job of this, like the hashtag. It's probably inverted for you, but it says hashtag we do the work. So they're really good about, like fitness and keeping up with these movements, right? Like 75 hard is a movement. So that was hashtag 75 hard. And now you got hashtag we do the work. They have hashtag First Form or I am First Form. So they do a really good job with that with their marketing too. All right, so packaging, we've kind of gotten through that. The next thing I would look at would be the product quality, like what's in it, the ingredients, and, does it fit? So we already kind of talked about that a little bit with the macros, but the ingredient list, it says on the front, it's a whole food protein bar. And when you look at the ingredients, you can name everything. It's very clear. I'll just read it off really quick. We got peanut butter, almond butter, protein blend with grass-fed whey and milk protein isolates, dates, honey, chocolate chips, walnuts, coconut oil, cocoa, egg whites, sea salt, and cocoa extract. So it definitely hits the mark on what it says that it is. It's got all whole foods. There's no natural flavors added or anything like that. They do have another bar that is called like their level 1 bar, and those ones they're not really like that clean. They have higher protein. It kind of hits that macro level that I was talking about before, like with the protein and the calorie count, a little bit better. And yeah, it just has some things in it that aren't really clean and whole food. So uh, for me, I mean, looking at this, outside of the macros, like it's just a ton of fat for me, which obviously is coming from good sources with the peanut butter, the almond butter. What else was it? The walnuts in there. Yeah, like a lot of good sources of good fats. So again, overall, it just depends on what you're in the mood for. Like a nutrition bar category has all those different occasions, so it really depends on the customer. For me, I really like this as kind of like it's a sweet treat, like instead of me going to a candy bar, this is perfect for me. What I have to be careful of is I track my calories and my macros and everything. I kind of have to pre-plan because it's so high in fat. Like I'm trying to stay around 75 grams of fat per day, so this is almost 20% of that, or 25%. So yeah, I just have to be careful for me and what I'm doing and making sure that when I'm eating that way, I just kind of plan ahead. All right, so then the next thing that a buyer looks at would be the pricing. And we can talk a little bit about this. We can't go into all the details because I don't know the cost or anything like that, but I bought this online. It was $46.99 for a 15 pack. So it's just a little bit over $3 a unit. I think overall that kind of is in line with the protein bar, like this kind of segment in the section. So I don't see it as it's a little bit different direct to consumer. You don't get promos. So when you're in the store, you typically have promotions that you can rely on, but when you're buying direct to consumer, you kind of know like that's the price you're getting. And like I said, I've tried this before. I don't eat it every day, but I wanted to have it for something where I can supplement the fats and the carbs that I need, beyond the protein. Like when I go heavy on, for me personally, when I go heavy on like chicken breast and I don't have, something else to complement it with the carbs and the fats, then this helps me kind of fill in those macros for me. And like I said, kind of a sweet treat. So I just plan for it. But yeah, pricing, I mean, as long as these are direct to consumer, they're not really going to discount it. And I've actually heard Andy say that, like they don't really go out of their way to discount their product. They are that mindset that they shouldn't have to. Like it's the product is so good that you're going to want it. It helps you support your goals. It's very high quality and deserves that price point. And the concern of when you start playing that game, it's just a race to the bottom in a way, or you're then putting it into a commodity surrounding versus just having it be on its own as a value, or not value, but a high quality product that you can get. So interesting mindset. When I was a buyer, I remember a lot of brands coming to the stores with that mindset, and it was honestly frustrating. So, if I were the buyer at the category review, were looking at these and they came in and said they're just going to run everyday price and no promos, I'd probably just say no, thank you, because our retailer, like the retailer I was working for, that wasn't our game. Like we relied on promos and we used them heavily to get traction and increase volume, and we used it to pull the levers that we needed to. So it's really interesting dynamic. There's two ways to think of it. And I remember brands coming in and thinking like they're hot shit and they don't need to promote. They have such a good brand presence and like knowledge and awareness that they just didn't need to promote. And it always just drove me crazy. I totally get where they're coming from, but each retailer is going to be different. So it's more about that partnership of how do you meet the retailer and the brand in a way that can support both goals. And sometimes it's just not a good fit, you know, that could just be the way it is. Like there were a couple brands that I did not bring in for a while because of their lack of support. And that's what, ultimately was kind of the breaking point. Like, where can we get support so we can bring these in and feel confident about putting them on the shelf? And then the last piece, which I just kind of started getting into, was the support. Again, we can't talk about this as much because I'm not here with the brand talking about how much they're going to promote or they're going to supply shippers and merchandising programs or e-com. That's all of the things that would go into the support plan. But the buyers really need to know that to understand how, once you get on the shelf, how are you going to move it off the shelf into a customer's cart? And it really comes down to, again, each retailer is going to have their own requirements. They're going to have their own strategies and, price points that they focus on and things like that. Like Publix, we all know, is huge on BOGOs. So that's probably, I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine that's a requirement when you have a new item that you run at least one, maybe two or three BOGOs a year. And so, again, I can't get into all the details, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but those are the areas that the buyers would look at. We would look at the packaging, the product itself, like the quality and the ingredients, the pricing, and the support that they'll give when they get into the store and when they're accepted. So those are like the main things that a buyer is thinking about constantly. Like our mind goes all over the place once we pick up an item. How many ways can we look at this and say like, okay, is it the right item? Is the right fit for this category, for our store, for our customer? Does the pricing fit in with that? Are they going to support it? Like all of that stuff is happening within seconds and, minutes of a conversation. So just a good reminder of, like I said, think about when you're presenting an item to a buyer, how can you use this information to kind of address all of this naturally without it having to come up from questions from the buyer? Like you can shape your pitch to address these things naturally and call out the good things. And even if you know that there's something that maybe is a weak spot, call it out and let them know, hey, this might be a weak spot, but this is where we make up for it. Maybe with the price point is really high every day, but we make up for it with extra support in demos and merchandising off shelf and things like that. There's lots of ways that you can use this information now to go into a pitch or a category review and talk to the buyers in a different way, a way that they can understand and kind of navigate through. Now, I'm going to open it up. Like I said, I have tried this before, so we'll do a quick taste test on it, but I know what I'm getting into. And I would say I should have put this in the fridge a little bit before I brought it up here because it is getting a little melty. So these chocolate chips, I actually really love it. You can see it's a little melty. The chocolate chips are one of the favorite points of this for me, is like when it gets a little bit melted. And I try to eat this pretty slow, like little nibbles here and there, like take a bite. And over time, like after I've had it open for a minute or whatever, it gets a little warm and like it gives you a way better mouthfeel and texture and everything, like experience, when you're eating it. Yeah, that's pretty solid, but I did just get a bunch of chocolate on me. Is that poop or chocolate? I don't know if Bonus points if you know that movie. Um, all right, so obviously I told you already, I like the product. I'll be honest, when I first tried it, I wasn't sure. It was a little bit more like firm than I would like than I wanted it to be at first when I tried it the first time. But like I said, after it softens up a little bit, it and the chocolate melts a little bit, it's fire. The couple of call outs that I really like about this. The dates and the honey for sweetener and things like that. Really love that. It's not quite as chewy as the like RX bars, dates, like you'll be chewing those things for an hour. It's not quite there. And again, I take little bites. Like it's not gummy like that. It's definitely more firm. And it has those walnut bits, which I didn't even look at the ingredients very closely, apparently, the first time or, one or two times that I had it. And I knew that there was a nut in there. I didn't know it was a walnut, but I was like, man, what a good addition. Like an inclusion like that. And again, thinking like chocolate brownie, if you probably think back to when you were a kid and you had a chocolate brownie with walnuts in it, like it's kind of lines up and it's pretty fire item. Now again, a little bit more indulgent for me, so I don't eat this all the time and I have to plan for it. Like I already planned today. I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat it. So what other food should I eat? But overall, I would say this is a win. If you are doing a direct to consumer, don't expect to get, like a big discount like you would in store. You do have like an option for subscribe and save. It gives you a little bit of a discount, like 30 cents a bar, I think maybe. So it brings it down to under $2 or under $3 a bar. But so it's not going to be like the best value or like lowest price, but overall the quality is there, the ingredients are there. Packaging, I think they did a great job with packaging. The only thing, like I said, the only maybe opportunity is don't call it a protein bar, but maybe like an energy bar or something along those lines. Because it's not really hitting that high protein level that you would expect for the calorie ratio. But overall, pretty good. Let me know in the chat if you've had this bar before, if you like them, if you've even seen this brand before. I know, like I said, it's not really in stores, so a lot of people probably don't even know about the brand, but it's a huge brand that's just direct to consumer majority. Yeah, and as we wrap up, just as a reminder, I'll be going live tomorrow and we're going to be looking at Battle of the Sets. Tomorrow we're looking at pasta sauce and we're reviewing Target versus Walmart. And just a sneak peek in that, Target has 12 feet of space, Walmart has 24 feet of space. And I do have a LinkedIn post out there with the pictures. You can go take a look ahead of time, but we're going to get into it. Why dedicate so much space to one brand? What kind of vertical blocking, horizontal blocking, pack out and efficiency, the variety, all of those things will kind of pop up into the conversation tomorrow. Now, if you could do me a favor, if you're watching this and you liked what you saw with the value that you got out of it, if it made you think and think about this idea of product review differently, or just the relationship between buyers and sales reps, please do me a favor, comment and share, like it, do whatever you can to help support it, because I want to keep doing this. I'm not going to be able to do a live every single day forever, but I want to find which of these little mini series work the best for sharing the value to people and helping them kind of navigate that buyer relationship the best. This one's pretty fun for me because I get to try food. Battle of the Sets is fun for me because I get to talk about merchandising, which I like, one of the favorite parts of what I did in my job. And then the buyer hotline, fun for me because I get to connect and help answer questions and solve problems with you guys. But it's all fun, but I can't do it all. So I just want to, get an idea of what it is that you like and where I should keep going with this. All right, guys, I will catch you later. It was good to see you, and I'll see you.